The movie begins with Jo Tae-jo, who is a secret agent working in the Korean National Intelligence Service, and his routine day is going completely normally. We learn that he has an obsession with excessive perfectionism, and his day goes peacefully in routine until he goes to the elevator, and as soon as he enters, he finds his neighbor Yaro with a dog. We learn at that moment that Jo Tae has a phobia of animals. At first, he tries to act like there's no problem, but Yaro gets the dog closer to him and says he's friendly, and as soon as he shows him the dog's face, the dog pees on him. He bursts in anger as soon as he goes to the shooting training, and we learn that he is a very strong secret agent, to the point that his assistants enter to congratulate him in advance because he is expected to get promoted even though he hasn't yet. The man next to him, who is also training, gets angry and fires a shot, and here Jo Tae realizes that the man is jealous of him and tells him not to tire himself because he will get promoted anyway. We move to the meeting, and we learn that his boss is talking about the new mission that will determine who gets promoted, and Jo Tae thinks he's the one who will win until he's shocked to know that China will send an emissary diplomat to strengthen relations between them and Korea. We learn that this is a method China always uses between countries to show peace from its side. But the shock comes when he learns that the diplomatic envoy is not a human being at all but an animal. And not just any animal, a panda. He swallows hard and gets nervous, and his rival already knows that he's going to win this time, but suddenly everyone is shocked when Jo Tae steps forward and volunteers himself to take the mission. Even when he's asked how can he do that when he has a phobia of animals, he pretends he has no problem, and we learn that his promotion means more to him than his fear. He starts organizing what's going to happen and gets angry from the madness around him, and while he's talking to his employees, he receives a phone call. When he answers, he hears his daughter crying for help, terrified, so he rushes to his car and drives fast to the place where she told him to meet her. When he arrives, he's shocked to see her holding a cat in her hands and telling him that it's an emergency and they have to find its owners. He gets very angry at her and gives her money in exchange for leaving the cat, which he's clearly terrified of, and tells her to go buy anything she wants. But his daughter feels that he's being heartless, especially after she explained that the cat is like a human child who got lost from its family. So upset, she takes the money and throws it back at his hand. At that moment, his phobia kicks in, and he doesn't know what to say to her. She quickly leaves him and walks away, and he gets rid of the cat by throwing it in the trash. We see the secret agents preparing for the panda's arrival, and everything is perfectly organized. But Jo Tae hears a cat's meow behind a tree, and when he looks, he finds it's the same cat he threw in the trash. It looks angry at him, and while he's staring, another agent comes to him. We learn that he's his assistant who went abroad for training. Jo Tae is grateful to him because he was the reason behind his own promotion and development, but at the same time, we realize that this assistant always causes a lot of trouble. So Jo Tae tries to keep some distance from him, and the assistant shows him a pen that he says is his latest invention. When he turns it on, it jams all devices within several kilometers, but the funny thing is that it also shuts down all the systems they had prepared for welcoming the panda. Jo Tae gets angry and quickly turns off the pen, telling him that weapons are meant to be used against enemies, not friends. Then we see the panda arriving, and everyone welcomes her warmly, but suddenly, a car arrives with masked men wearing black suits. As soon as it stops, the dogs start barking, sensing something's wrong, but no one pays attention. The masked men quickly set up their gear and throw smoke bombs to kidnap the panda. Jo Tae rushes through the smoke to rescue her, but visibility is terrible. He tries to follow her as best as he can, and when he finally sees her heading toward a vehicle, he assumes it's part of their security team. But suddenly, they shoot the panda with a tranquilizer dart, and she starts collapsing. He initially thinks they're helping her, but when he realizes something is wrong and that those men are not his team, he points his weapon at them. At that same time, his assistant is on his way to help him, but another car appears and throws a smoke grenade in front of him, blinding him completely. The kidnappers grab the panda and escape quickly. In that moment, the assistant crashes into Jo Tae with a golf cart by accident, knocking him down. We see Jo Tae fainting, and as he loses consciousness, he hears a voice from afar saying he's going to pass out. He looks toward the sound and sees a dog talking to him before everything goes black. When he wakes up, he's in the hospital with a neck brace on. The next day, as he enters the elevator, his neighbor is there again, clearly embarrassed and trying to avoid him. But Jo Tae starts hearing a voice shouting, and the more he looks at his neighbor angrily, the more scared the neighbor gets until he realizes that it's not the neighbor talking but the dog beside him. Jo Tae panics, unable to believe his ears, and when the dog realizes that Jo Tae can understand animal language, he says, "Tell my owner he has stomach problems and shouldn't do that surgery he's planning, or he'll never be able to have puppy soft course." Jo Tae is horrified and quickly leaves the elevator, while the dog mutters, "I wish I'd said it differently." Joe Tai goes to the supermarket and starts buying a lot of things. Still unable to believe what he heard, he keeps telling himself he must be imagining it. While picking up groceries, he suddenly hears something calling his name and counting numbers. When he looks around, he realizes it's the hamster inside the mall. He freezes in fear, trying to wake himself up and escape. But then he hears a hedgehog talking to the hamster too. He freaks out, runs away, and rushes back to his workplace, looking paranoid and on the verge of madness. His boss asks if he's feeling alright, but he can't respond. His rival jumps in and says if he really feels fine, then he has no conscience because he ruined the mission and destroyed the diplomatic relationship between Korea and China. His boss tells him to explain what happened, but he starts hearing multiple voices again. He looks around and realizes that the fish inside the aquarium are the ones talking. He completely loses his composure, approaching the fish tank to listen closely to what they're saying. But everyone around him thinks he's gone insane. Even the fish complain that someone keeps throwing bad things in their tank, and when he asks who's doing it, he starts crying from what he's hearing. Everyone stares at him with pity, convinced he's lost his mind completely. His boss, feeling sorry for him, gently tells him to calm down and says he should take a vacation. His rival, however, smirks and tells him that he should just resign and hand over his badge. Joe Tai snaps back at him angrily, saying, "You won't be able to do anything." But his rival mocks him again. Joe Tai declares, "I'll solve this case myself." We then discover that he's the one who has been throwing strange things into the fish tank all along. Later, Joe Tai walks in the zoo, and while walking, he hears a tiger mocking him, and even the panda's voice echoes in his head, calling him partner. We learn that his assistant is actually pretending to be the panda himself. So the diplomatic relationship between China and Korea isn't affected by the kidnapping. The assistant proudly tells him, "I'm a professional. I can play multiple roles." While talking, the assistant accidentally drops his cigarette, setting his costume on fire. Joe Tai rushes to help him, but instead of throwing water, he mistakenly pours gasoline on him, making the flames worse. The assistant screams in pain, and Joe Tai panics, slapping him repeatedly in an attempt to put out the fire. Eventually, the ambulance arrives and takes him away. The assistant, still burned, weakly says, "Don't worry, I'm immortal." As Joe Tai walks away, a gorilla nearby speaks to him, saying a proverb, "Men are fools, they've ruined our dignity among the mammals." He realizes she's referring to him and gets annoyed, trying to ignore her, but she yells at him again, and we find out the gorilla is actually female. She says, "Aren't you here to find the panda?" This gets his attention. He moves closer, and she says, "I know every big and small thing that happens in this zoo, nothing escapes me, but I don't give out information for free." He bribes her with a magazine full of gorilla pictures, and she happily agrees, saying, "Now, I'll tell you, go squeeze the dog." He's confused, what dog? And then remembers that when he fainted after being hit, he heard a dog talking near him. It turns out that dog was a police dog chasing the car that kidnapped the panda. Joe Tai regrets ever talking to the gorilla, but she gets angry and says, "I hear everything, my senses are 100 times stronger than humans." She starts describing weird details happening around him, like ants or distant donkeys, explaining what they're doing. He realizes she's telling the truth, so he decides to trust her. He continues walking through abandoned areas, seemingly tracking the dog. He eventually reaches an old, deserted house. As he walks in, he steps on some animal skulls and realizes they're dog skulls. Then we see a secret meeting happening inside, led by a dog who's giving a lecture to a group of animals about how great of a secret agent he is. Joe Tai enters and calls out to him, asking why he ran away. The animals laugh at Joe Tai, saying that the dog deserted his military duty. While they argue, a pig appears, clearly furious about a human being among them. The animals all start complaining about how humans always cause them problems and think they're the smartest creatures. The tension grows, and the animals begin to emerge from their hiding places, angry at Joe Tai's presence. They're ready to attack him, but he quickly pulls out pieces of sausage and luncheon meat from his pocket, tossing them away. The animals immediately rush after the food, distracted. Taking advantage of that, he grabs the dog and tries to escape. The animals soon realize it was a trick and start chasing him again, with no other choice. Joe Tai carries the dog in his arms and runs. He throws the dog into his car, jumps in, and drives off. The dog keeps struggling and refusing to cooperate, making Joe Tai so angry that he points his gun at him. The dog laughs and says, "You're threatening me with a toy that's not even a real gun. I won't tell you anything until I get some sleep, and not anywhere but in your house." They reach Joe Tai's house, and we learn that his perfectionism has reached new extremes. The dog's dirty paws drive him crazy. He keeps keeps cleaning everything after him, unable to stand the mess. The dog, of course, keeps messing around the house even more, going upstairs and dirtying Joe Tai's bed, which pushes him to the edge. He tries to catch the dog, but the dog says he's hungry. Joe Tai bribes him with food so he'll calm down. Then he repairs the home's smart system and tries to get some rest. But when he wakes up and goes downstairs, he finds the place completely destroyed again. He can't do anything because he still needs information from the dog. He tries bribing him again, but the dog gets offended, saying, "Stop treating me like a dumb animal," and wrecks the house even more. Joe Tai finally loses his patience and threatens to shoot him, but of course he can't do it. While they're arguing, his daughter walks in with her friend, shocked at the chaos in the house. She yells at him, "What kind of hurricane hit this place?" She's upset because he had promised to throw her a surprise party for her birthday and said she could bring her friends. He realizes he's in trouble and tries to invite them out to eat, but it doesn't work. Her friends clearly think he's not the perfect dad. Then they all notice the dog and the mood shifts. They run to pet him and start asking what his name is. Joe Tai doesn't want to say his real code name since it's just numbers, so he calls him Ollie. His daughter smiles, happy that her father is acting normal and gentle with the dog despite his phobia. They all take the dog to the park. Joe Tai plays with his daughter, feeling genuinely happy that she's smiling again. He even gives her a gift, but she's shocked to find it's just a doll. The dog mocks him, saying, "You still think she's a little baby." But the daughter appreciates the thought and doesn't get mad. Then she suddenly tells him that part of her birthday wish is to see the panda that China brought. Joe Tai doesn't know it was kidnapped, but he promises she'll see it soon. While the dog lectures him on how to be a good father, a loud sound suddenly goes off. It's a toy rocket, but the dog freaks out, having war-related trauma. He starts hallucinating explosions and memories of a battlefield. Joe Tai runs after him and finds him hiding in the park, terrified. Then he learns that the dog's old partner, who had tried to defend him long ago, didn't survive the war. We see flashbacks of the dog's past missions when he was younger, including a moment where he was assisting his first human partner. During one mission, they encounter an enemy eating an apple, the same detail from the movie's opening when we saw the cleaning truck scene. The dog rushes to bite the enemy, and everyone aims their weapons. Shockingly, the man has a detonator connected to explosives. He presses the button, causing an explosion. The dog's partner and others get injured. We learn that the dog was part of the United Nations peacekeeping forces sent to Kasomia 3 years ago, and that the terrorist they faced back then is the same man now leading the masked group that kidnapped. The panda. Joe Tai comforts the dog, telling him he must get back up and fight again. The dog feels grateful and jumps on him playfully, full of emotion. We move to the panda, who is imprisoned in an abandoned place, playing with random things around her. The kidnappers treat her badly, giving her awful food, and before they even hand it to her, she throws it back at them in anger. Her personality starts to show she's picky about food and refuses to eat anything ordinary. She screams at them, saying, "I'm a famous star in China. Everyone knows the name Ming Ming." She demands to be treated properly and asks how they dare feed her such garbage. Then their leader appears, the one holding the apple, and he throws her favorite treat toward her. He even gives her her beloved bamboo dish and offers it to her personally. Meanwhile, Joe Tai and the dog go to the place the dog told him about. They walk through the forest. Following the scent trail, the dog stops in front of an area, sniffing intensely, and we see flashbacks showing that this is where the kidnappers used to collect bamboo for the panda's meals. The dog starts running, leading Joe Tai to a building where a man is seen playing a chess-like game with his goat. When the goat wins, the man hands her a coin as a reward. Joe Tai asks the man if he knows who cut the bamboo trees nearby, if he has any surveillance cameras or receipts showing who came through. But the man misunderstands, thinking Joe Tai is trying to buy his goat, and gets angry, claiming that the goat is under his protection. The goat tries to calm him down, making him win a few games so she can get her snacks. Realizing the man is crazy, Joe Tai waits until he leaves the building, then sneaks back to the goat and starts questioning her. At first, she doesn't believe he can really talk to animals, but once she sees he can, she becomes cautious and refuses to talk. She says, "I need a $50 bill to say a single word." The dog threatens her, barking furiously, and she gets scared and gives up the information, telling them the car's license plate number. We then see the panda again, this time in a zoo, but it's not the real panda. It's the assistant disguised in the panda suit again. The children come to see her and notice she's acting weird, making boxing moves as if she's training. Joe Tai realizes the performance is terrible, so the assistant pretends to eat to look more believable. Back at home, Joe Tai opens his laptop and starts searching for the car plate number. When the suspect's face appears on the screen, the dog growls, recognizing him immediately. "That's the man who kidnapped her," he shouts. Just then, Joe Tai's assistant walks in and is shocked to see him talking to the dog. Feeling sorry for Joe Tai, he says, "I'm sorry for what happened to you." Joe Tai replies, "Don't worry, I'm fine. The dog was the witness. That's why time talking to him, his assistant looks at him with pity, clearly thinking he's lost his mind, and tries to comfort him, but Joe Tai ignores him, even when the assistant slips and falls. Joe Tai leaves the place and heads to a parking garage, where a high-ranking person is seen arriving. He observes carefully, seeing what looks like a secret meeting taking place. They're talking about a secret project involving genetic experiments related to pandas. Joe Tai, determined to uncover the truth, follows one of the men. After the meeting ends, he ambushes him, using his fighting skills to grab the man like a dog catching prey. While the real dog chases down the others, the chase intensifies. The dog shows great bravery, sprinting after the escaping car. Later, at the investigation center, Joe Tai's boss confronts him angrily. That man you attacked is a top scientist, one of our country's leading researchers. How could you assault him? She says. She shows him photos proving that the man wasn't even in Korea. He had an alibi and was seen at an airport abroad. Joe Tai is shocked, but then an idea hits him. He remembers that the terrorist who kidnapped the panda had a bite mark on his leg from the dog during the earlier encounter. So he storms into the scientist's room and demands to see his leg, but finds nothing. Everyone now believes Joe Tai has truly gone insane, especially since he keeps talking about the dog as if it's a human secret agent. His rival bursts out laughing and mocks him again. His boss sadly tells him, "You're relieved of duty. You're now officially a civilian." We return to the panda, and we're shocked to see the scientist talking to someone else. The scene reveals the twist. The scientist we saw was actually the terrorist in disguise. He cloned the real doctor's face using advanced technology and wore it to fake his identity. He tells the real scientist, "I'm the one who saved you," by making it look like you were abroad. He looks over at the panda and orders his men to transfer her to a deserted island. When they hesitate, he shows them the biological weapon his company is developing, then takes his payment bag full of money and leaves. Meanwhile, the dog had followed the trail and arrived at the place. He sneaks in and finds the panda. He reassures her that he's there to rescue her. The panda, proud and confident, mocks him, bragging that she speaks more than 5 languages. The dog gets annoyed and starts leaving, but the panda panics, apologizing quickly and dancing playfully to cheer him up. He smiles despite himself. She says, "I'm a huge celebrity in China. You said you'd save me." He nods and says, "But I need to go back to Joe Tai first so he can help." He tells her, "Give me something as proof so he believes me." She hands him the red ball that the terrorist had thrown to her earlier. The dog takes it and runs off, determined to reach Joe Tai as fast as possible. He jumps on the subway, disguising himself as a stray dog to sneak into Joe Tai's hotel without being noticed. He reaches Joe Tai's security camera and tries to show him the ball, the proof that the panda is alive, but a guard spots him and grabs him roughly. Joe Tai sees what's happening through the camera, but ignores it, still bitter after being fired. The guard turns out not to be a hotel worker at all, but one of the terrorists. He tries to take the ball, but the dog refuses, biting and struggling. The man angrily throws the ball away and takes the dog with him. It starts raining heavily. Joe Tai still refuses to respond. At that moment, his daughter walks in with a new stray dog and says, "This poor dog had nowhere to go, so I'll raise him." He doesn't reply. Still upset, she calls out for the other dog, but he doesn't appear. When she asks where he went, Joe Tai coldly says he left. His daughter gets angry and shouts, "You told me we don't keep animals in this house." She storms at him emotionally, saying, "Do you even know what happens to retired dogs like him? They get used for experiments or are put down." Joe Tai freezes in guilt. We then see flashbacks of his wife, learning for the first time that she had died from septicemia, not from a car accident as he told his daughter. She had been a veterinarian, deeply in love with animals, sometimes even more than with him. He confesses, "I couldn't forgive her for that." His daughter replies, "I'm the only one who truly understood Mom. She believed that human and animal lives are equal, and I'm proud of her." We see the dog now, and it looks like his new owner is mentally unstable, holding an electric stick, preparing to torture him. The dog is nervous and trembling, realizing what's about to happen. As the man moves closer to shock him, suddenly someone taps him on the shoulder. It's Joe Tai. He hits the man, saving the dog just in time. Joe Tai, still upset and silent, looks down at the dog and says, "Go. I saved you, but I don't want to see you again." The dog, instead of leaving, starts playing with him, nudging him with a stick to play fetch. Joe Tai, angry, throws the stick away, but when he sees the dog happily bringing it back, he can't help but smile. He sits down, emotional, and starts crying, heartbroken about everything. He's lost his job, his family, his wife. The dog stays beside him no matter what, refusing to leave. After some time, Joe Tai's emotional state improves. Together, they return home, and the dog shocks him by saying, "I found the panda." Joe Tai is stunned. "What? How? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" He shouts. The dog shows him the red ball, proof of the panda's location. Joe Tai immediately says, "Take me there right now." They reach the place the dog indicated, and it's heavily guarded. Suddenly, someone approaches from behind. It's his assistant, who says, "The panda's inside." Joe Tai can't believe it. "How did you know?" he asks. The assistant shrugs and says, The dog told me. Joe Tai stares at him, realizing that maybe he really has gone insane. Since the assistant can't hear anything the dog says, they sneak inside, and the dog helps by taking out guards one by one, cutting off the power supply to the entire facility. The terrorist leader becomes furious, realizing there's an intruder. Everyone grabs their weapons. Suddenly, someone starts attacking them with a stun gun, knocking them down one after another. Finally, Joe Tai reaches the panda's cell and unlocks it. The panda greets him like royalty, saying, "I grant you the honor of being my personal bodyguard," and extends her hand for him to kiss. Awkwardly, he complies, but suddenly, the lights flicker back on and the terrorists storm the room. The leader appears, holding a powerful weapon, and a fierce fight begins between him and Joe Tai. They exchange blows until Joe Tai is knocked down. At the last moment, the dog jumps in and saves him, biting the leader's arm. Joe Tai pulls the dog away just as the leader tries to shoot, and they both struggle on the ground. Joe Tai manages to disarm him, but the terrorist chokes him. Desperate, Joe Tai pushes him away, causing the man to fall hard and lose his balance. Joe Tai quickly checks on the dog, who's hurt but alive, then grabs the panda, and they all escape. Outside, they meet the assistant, but all the remaining guards surround them. Outnumbered, they're trapped. The assistant smirks confidently and says, "You know what I'm good at." Escaping, he hides inside a barrel, bragging that he's indestructible. Joe Tai sighs, "Didn't you always say you're immortal?" The assistant replies, "Yeah," and Joe Tai kicks the barrel, rolling it toward the guards. The barrels crash into them, causing chaos, giving them time to run away. By dawn, they're exhausted. The panda suddenly refuses to move, saying, "I'm not taking another step until you get me a limousine." Joe Tai tries to reason with her, but she folds her arms, pouting. Then a bus arrives. Joe Tai quickly comes up with a plan. He pretends to be blind, saying the panda is his guide dog. They board the bus, and everyone is shocked to see the panda walking upright. Joe Tai whispers, "Act like a human and keep your head down." The panda nods and politely greets the driver. Calming him down, the bus drives off, and at last, they've escaped. Later, Joe Tai's daughter arrives home, and as soon as she touches the door, it opens automatically. He's excited to see her. She looks confused, asking why he's so happy. He smiles and says, "I have a surprise for you inside." She goes upstairs, and to her shock, she finds a panda lying comfortably on her father's bed. The panda smiles, acting all fancy, and his daughter can't believe it. She happily sits beside her. Meanwhile, the real scientist and the terrorist are in another lab. The scientist loses his temper because the panda disappeared. He tries to attack the terrorist, but the man pulls a gun on him and orders his men to prepare the biological weapon for testing on the scientist himself. The terrified man offers them money, begging for mercy, but the terrorist injects him with something and locks him in the same cell where the panda had been held. As they leave the building, we see the horrifying truth: the injection contained explosives. Moments later, the building explodes. Back at Joe Tai's house, he calls his boss, asking her to come. When she arrives, she's shocked by his strange look and his messy house. As she steps inside, she's even more stunned to see wild animals everywhere: deer, a pig, a mess all over the floor. But the biggest surprise is the panda sitting casually on the couch. Joe Tai says proudly, "She's very spoiled. She demanded a limousine." His boss can't believe her eyes. Outside, agents are gathered in front of the building, celebrating the panda's safe return. But the dog senses something wrong: the smell of danger. He growls, realizing the enemy is nearby. The panda is escorted into a limousine, and Joe Tai's assistant, limping from his previous injuries, is being praised by the boss for his heroic help. He proudly declares himself the reason for the mission's success, taking full credit. The cars drive off, but Joe Tai and his daughter suddenly notice the dog is missing. We see him scouting the perimeter, tracking suspicious scents. He reaches a man's boots. It's the terrorist leader. It was a trap. 3 men appear, throwing a net over the dog and capturing him. Joe Tai sees this and rushes after them, but he's too late. He drives home, desperate, asking all the animals for help. At the enemy base, the terrorist orders poison to be mixed into the dog's food. When the main dog refuses to eat, the man realizes he's too smart and gets angry. Back at Joe Tai's house, a parrot flies out to deliver a message, commanding a flock of pigeons to scout the city. Hundreds of pigeons spread through the skies until they finally find the captured dog. The scene shifts. We see several dogs being led through a metal detector without setting it off. The horrifying revelation: they've all been implanted with explosives. The animals quickly relay this to Joe Tai, who races to reach the location, but the roads are blocked. Then he spots a horse nearby. He jumps out of his car, gives the owner $20, and says to the horse, "Please help me." The horse neighs, understanding him, and Joe Tai mounts it, galloping full speed toward the event. Inside the hall, a big ceremony is happening. The assistant is presenting the panda to the public. The terrorist is among the crowd, disguised. Joe Tai bursts in just as the ceremony begins, searching frantically quickly for the dog. When he finally spots him, the dog says, "Stay back. They planted explosives in me and the other dogs." Joe Tai's face fills with horror. He looks around and sees the terrorist holding a phone with a detonator. The man presses it, activating the signal. Suddenly, Joe Tai remembers the pen from earlier, the one that jams electronic signals. He fights his way through the crowd to reach his assistant, shouting at the panda to help. The panda, surprisingly skilled, performs kung fu moves, knocking the assistant toward him so he can grab the pen. At the last possible second, Joe Tai presses the button. The pen activates, blocking all electronic signals in the area. The explosives deactivate instantly. The doors open, and everyone rushes out safely. Outside, special agents swarm the area, capturing the terrorists. Their leader tries to flee, but Joe Tai and the dog chase him down. The dog jumps on him, biting fiercely, but the man overpowers him, aiming a gun at his head. Joe Tai leaps forward, taking the bullet himself to protect the dog. Time slows down. He remembers every moment he shared with the dog, from the first meeting to their bond of friendship. The bullet hits his arm instead of his chest, and he collapses. His boss and the other agents arrive, shooting the terrorist and arresting him. The dog looks at Joe Tai with tears in his eyes, thanking him for saving him. Both of them pass out. We see Joe Tai in the hospital, waking up. The same cat he had thrown away in the trash at the beginning appears, meowing at him. Feeling guilty, he quickly gets up to apologize. But the funny part is that when he runs to the fish tank, he doesn't hear any voices anymore. It's silent. Just then, he gets a phone call telling him to come see the dog. He rushes there and finds the dog lying on a table. The doctors had operated on him to remove the explosives. Joe Tai panics, thinking the dog died during surgery. His daughter enters the room too, crying. They both break down in tears until the vet walks in and says, "He's not dead. He's just asleep. We gave him anesthesia." Oh Tai and his daughter burst into laughter and relief, hugging the dog tightly. Later, at the secret agency, the team celebrates the success of their mission. Everyone cheers, and the dog is awarded a Medal of Honor. The movie ends with Joe Tai finally getting his long-awaited promotion.